and Merry Christmas, everybody. It's the Alco Diesel Guy, and here's my little Christmas tree. Yeah, it would probably make Charlie Brown, well, not jealous, at least in its original form. Looks pretty decent enough. It's got lights on. I gotta get more decorations. Still, something's missing. What am I missing? Of course, I don't have a train going around here. So let's take care of that right now. What I've been doing for the past little while as I've been trying to plan this, as you've now seen on the edge of your screen, I've been trying to find tracks out of this sort of bin of tracks I've had since, I don't know when. I've been dealing with, or rather I should say working with Kato. I shouldn't say dealing. It's really nice stuff with Kato Uni tracks for about 10 years now, so I've acquired quite a bit of this stuff. Unfortunately, I can't find anything that's going to work quite effectively enough in terms of being tight to make this turn. So I've had to turn to something new from Kato, or at least new to me. This is their CV1 kit. It's part of their compact line. These are designed to go around very tight turns, basically very tight turning surfaces, I should say, to make very tight turns around tight tables like this one you see over here. As you see, I did find some super tight track, but that's going to be too tight for what I'm doing. So I think I'm going to give this little set here a try. So without further ado, let me go get the CV1 kit ready to go. Again, this series of track from Kato is comprehensive. You have everything you need to get the track set up. You do not have a power pack with this. It costs about $20, which I think is a pretty good price considering what you get. Just keep in mind that if you're putting this up, you're going to have to budget for a power pack of some kind to power it, or a DCC system, because those are not included. Okay, so the first step is for the project is to actually get the track out of its package, which just kind of unfolds. It's designed to be reusable, though I don't think I ever would reuse this, though it probably would come in handy if I did. Let's see what we got here. This is the official Japanese importer, if you ever would like to refer to it as. What I mean by that is it literally is from Japan. Everything's in Japanese. It does show you how you can make some pretty cool layouts here, including this little one. Ooh, this is a layout I might want to try to build, because I really like this sort of double sort of oval thingy. R150. I wonder if I have enough of those tracks to actually do that. That'd be really cool if I could do something like that. But anyway, let's get going here and see what I can do with this. So here we have the CV1 set. Again, a bunch of straight sections. Let's start by putting in our first curve here. Again, Kato Uni tracks, very easy to work with. Just snap the tracks together as such. I'm going to just kind of rough this out. Alrighty, as we can see here, my layout has, as everyone seems to say these days when things change the way they say they weren't going to change, evolved. I now have, basically, after looking at 2 loops going around and round, not even running them yet, but just imagining how boring that would get after a while, I decided to do something different. And that's where this comes in. I mentioned this before and showed it before. This is the Kato CV3 set, which, as you can see, I've taken all the contents out and placed down here. I took the second loop and turned it into a double figure 8. One loop around the tree itself, and then another loop here in the middle of the town. I'm going to move these houses, and that brings me neatly to my next segue, which is these houses, which are in fact ornaments if you look closely. I got these at Walmart. They were at final liquidation because they're just coming up to Christmas Eve soon here in a couple of days. So everything is 20-30% off. So they were dirt cheap. I think they were $2 before the discount, so they were dirt cheap. Not the greatest things, but they'll do the trick. And I've also borrowed a train station for my N-scale layout, which will be showing up on the channel soon, hopefully. Hint, hint, wink, wink on that. So again, here's how it's set up. The outer tracks here, as I showed before, just to make it clear, this is a wide radius turn, so I can run most every set on them, like the bi-level sets or the Amtrak set, which I think I'm going to get one of those to run on here. I may have to widen this out, as I'm seeing it's a little bit too tight here. I'm going to have to grab myself an extension track and push this out a bit more. The inner set is going to be tight radius, and I've got a solution to that problem. I'm going to probably try these cars here. These are covered gondolas from Kato. They're very small radius. They have metal wheels on them. They're great rail holders. I've had good luck with these things. They weren't abundantly expensive. I got these a while ago for 20 bucks a piece for each of these sets, or a little bit more with the shipping. Not bad if you think about it. As for power, as you probably guessed, I'm keeping things old school and simple. I've got here 2 basic power packs. And there are very curious choices I've made here. This is an old Bachmann power pack circa of late 70s, early 80s. And this over here is a lifelike power pack circa I want to say about the early to mid 90s, all the way up till 2010, when the company rolled up its tracks and shut down its train line, its train set division, before it took its Walters train line, because Walters bought them out and basically made that into the lifelike sets, albeit with better equipment and the famous Powerlock set, replacing the infamous Bachmann Easy Track sets, despite apparently a marketing deal the company had together with them. That's how I'm going to power it. I'm going to basically snip off these connectors, which these Kato tracks have here. Here's one of them right here. I'll show you what it looks like. This may intimidate some people, but it really is not complicated. All this is a positive and negative wire with a clip on it. Yes, it would probably be easier to use a Kato power pack, which I have handy. Sort of, actually, but not really, because it's a bigger power pack, to be honest. It would take up more space, and also it would be a pain to find a place to put it. I need to get a special type of power strip to power it, because it needs a full-on plug adapter that has to plug into it, whereas these are more basic. I don't necessarily recommend these as being 100% safe. I'm not going to leave this on. It's only going to be on when I'm physically present. I would not leave this on long term. I would not trust to run these things by themselves. This is just what I'm using because I happen to have them. And again, these are dirt cheap. You can find these days because model rareholders like myself have gotten them pretty much every Christmas or birthday we've ever had. They're worth like maybe 10 bucks. And if you pay more than that, I'd have to say you'd have to be crazy, unless you're hardcore into collecting them. Apparently, there's some people who collect these things now. Me, I'm just going to use them because I want to run them. So let's get started. The next step I'm going to do now is to go ahead and test everything out. But first, I've got to go ahead and figure out how my power system is going to work here. And a quick note to how I got this loop to work. In addition to employing the standard tracks that the CV3 set comes with, which is the R18345, which is the type, radius, and model, I also added basically 2 packages of this, or roughly 1 or 2 or 1.5 packages. So yeah, let's call it 2 of these R150 45-degree turns, which are super duper sharp, which is one of the reasons why I'm concerned about the trains making the turns. Everything else you see here came with either the C1 or the C2 pack to make this loop work. Essentially, I just used the straight sections. I did add 2 of these small sections, I should mention. This is the power track, and this is the additional track that complements that from the CV3 set. One quick note on this project: I did end up picking up some Christmas balls from my local Walmart, which are supposed to be shatterproof, but, well, I'll be the judge of that. Reason being is the ones that came on this tree weren't the greatest, to put it mildly, as they fell apart. And, well, here's one of them. The whole string actually fell off this present thing. I'm just using it as a lower decoration now. And this bow also kind of fell apart on me. It's still together, but the hook fell apart, and it's like, yeah. So anyway, I've added some of those shatterproof Christmas balls to this thing, and it looks definitely a lot better. That's a huge improvement. Didn't cost very much. I also picked up some hooks from Walmart. They were 99 cents. Again, all this was on liquidation, much like the houses, so it didn't make sense for me not to do it. So I figured, hey, why not just spend a little money and get this done? Let's go ahead and grab, actually, one more. Yes, I'll put 1 or 2 more of these on, just for the sake of making this thing look more complete. Walmart was actually selling trees like this one, but with minus the lights and the ornaments that come with it. This one I thought was pre-decorated, but it wasn't. But to be honest, I'm kind of actually enjoying decorating this thing. I didn't think I would admit that. I was in such a bah humbug mood there for a while, because I'd been working like crazy due to issues with me not being able to be home the past few days. I actually have to admit I'm enjoying putting these ornaments on this tree and making it look like something really respectable. There it is. That's all nice and hung. And I think that'll do it for right now. I may put more of these on later, but now it's time to continue with this project. Got to do a few more things. Now time for the ultimately secret yet extremely basic hack I'm going to do to avoid using a Kato power pack with this setup, because I really don't have the room to put 2 of them in place, as I'm going to run DC, or do I want to spend the cash, I should say, for a dual throttle power pack. And it involves one of these wire stripper thingies. Clip. Now I'm just going to open these wires up. Come on, camera, focus. Focus, focus, out of focus. Focus, focus, out of focus, or whatever the heck that term goes in. This is as good as it's going to get. Next, I'm going to select the AMG for this, or better known as the gauge. I think it's right there, that one right there. We'll pull it straight through, and that takes care of that. Actually, try doing it the other way. I would rotate this, but it doesn't work with something this small. There we go. So I got my wires nice and stripped as small as possible. Next, I'm going to run this wire, which is one of the outs. This is for the outside track. I'm going to run this into one of my power packs. Let's bring out the lifelike over here. And let me grab a screwdriver. That would help, wouldn't it? Get a light on there for you. So now I'm going to run this right into the DC post right over here. As I continue the basic wiring for this layout, I note that this particular power pack is equipped with a bit of an artifact. This is the old school predecessor to the Easy plug that Bachmann now uses for its Easy Track. Back in the day when you had the HO scale layouts with Bachmann, you would get one of these plugs. It would plug into your re-railer. And basically, back in the day when a lot of kids were still allowed to play with these trains before they had a requirement of 15 and up, basically was, I think at one time, it was all the way down like 8 and up or even lower than that. This saved a lot of short circuits and fires, houses, I should say, from a lot of short circuits and fires because you couldn't cross the wires easily. It plugged right in. That said, though, I'm going to be removing it, although I'll keep it to the side. Oh, this is stiff. You can tell these haven't been out since the 80s. This, again, is an early power pack. It could be from as old as the 70s. Unfortunately, it's too old for me to work with here, so out it comes. This wire, I should say, is... Okay, after tearing through my collection of trains, I've come up with this Rio Grande Bachmann RS3, which is one of the infamous engines that doesn't run very well on DCC due to a decoder problem. I plan to do an in-depth review of these engines in a little bit. For the time being, though, I'm just going to use it here on analog because I know, obviously, this isn't going to require a DCC interface to run. Let's see if this will actually function. I turn my throttle on. Ah, there it goes. Let's see if she can make it around the track. I'm going to just take you off the thing. Yeah, these are not the quietest running engines around. I would call that a success. Woohoo! So now I can make use of this engine with its bad DCC decoder, just have it run on here. The next question is, will it run with the cars I have for it? Let me go actually stop it right here. I got this old school. Oh, I love these old power packs. I love this sort of throttle. You remember the buzz this thing makes, so that's a little disturbing. I may have to keep an eye on this thing. I probably should look for another power pack, which I can probably find. Nickel Silver Track works really well with these things. Let me go now and get my cars for this. This is from a set I had gotten back in 2012 when I got back into N-Scale called the Royal Blue. I only have 2 cars. I can't find the third. I don't know what I did with it. I may have to make a last-minute shopping trip to get these cars. Maybe I can find them. I don't want to buy the whole set again. Let me see if I can grab another one, or maybe just find similar ones. Where did I just put that other car now for it? Oh, here it is. Actually, I put the wrong one on first. This is actually supposed to be on first. Catch with N-Scale, for those of you HO scalers, is that it is not easy to put the trains on the track. That's why I know these re-railers do not look realistic, but I put them everywhere I can because I want to make sure that my trains are easy to put on the tracks. Usually you can disguise them. Kato has it set up so you can disguise them as railroad crossings. I'll try to manually re-rail this with one hand. And oh yeah, that shows you how good I've gotten with this. Not to brag too much, but push them together. The reason why I'm using these coaches is that they are Bachmann's, as is the locomotive. So let's see if now it can pull those around the track. Might help if I go the right direction here. Oh. Pulling cars is never... if I remember correctly, is not one of this locomotive's strong points. Yep, these engines are... I heard all the boasting when Bachmann introduced this model of being so high quality and so wonderful, so this, so that, and it really isn't, to be honest. It's nothing great. Especially in terms of its DCC reliability. Let's try that again and see if I get anything out of it. Around the twisty section. Back it off a little bit. I don't want to go too fast. I don't know if I ever properly broke this thing in. Through the straight section shouldn't be a problem there. Here's where it might come off. No, it's fine. Right there. Oh, and it derails again. So I obviously have a problem there. This is typical with a new railroad. You have to keep messing with things until you get it right. Let me go take a look and see what's going on. Okay, take 272. I've got the RS3 running reliably with its small set of coaches around the track. Apparently just needed to break in. I think the coaches themselves have just not been run enough because I had so much trouble with it back in 2012 when I got them. Yes, I know the power feed looks kind of grotesque here. I got to figure out where to put that next, but it's probably going to have to come out someplace because a transformer has to be in some location to actually pick up the power. But either that or I'll camouflage it. Anywho, let's give the Amtrak a try one more time here and see if it'll actually move. There we go. Oh, backwards. Don't want to go backwards. It'll crash. Again, this locomotive is not the one that was originally on this chassis. I got this locomotive as part of a set. I changed the shell out with another one because that shell because the other engine I changed it out with had DCC, and I wanted this particular, the number this one came with as a DCC engine. And I already had a 150 with a DCC decoder in, which is what this one is. So I swapped them out. And there we go. Very close on the side there, but it does work. Alrighty, so that definitely works, and I'm pretty happy with that. Push this back a little bit more. Ooh, that's kind of dangerous what I just did there, but that'll work pretty well. There we go. And yeah, so now I have 2 trains running reliably. That's just what I wanted. Again, the reason for the weird radiuses here is because I didn't have the same track radius to go around the outside. I managed to throw this together with 2 different tracks. I just messed with 2 different radiuses on the one side at the far end over here. It came together pretty well. It's still not quite perfect, but trains go around the tracks, and that's all I really care about at this point. So yeah, that's perfect. So my next step is to further upgrade this layout visually, and that's to tweak some of the decorations. Just finishing up some minor detailing here. Found a really cool way of getting rid of this ornament hook from these houses. Again, these are ornaments. That's how I was able to get them. If you just counterclockwise turn this little hook here, like so, if you're careful enough, like I was just there, you can unscrew the hook. So I'll show you as soon as I get this all the way out. And it'll just come right out and hopefully not derail my train as I'm right over the layout as I do this. And there it is. It's out. And there we go. Just like that, I now have a house I can put someplace on my layout. And I guess I'll put it right next to the church right over here. Give the pastor a nice front row seat, if you will, to the railroad. At the same time, try to cover up my track wiring a bit better here. I'll have to come up with... I guess I'm going to wind up having to cut some of my oversized tree skirt over here off to fill this up, because I don't know how else I would do it. Oh, just touched the train, but it didn't crash. That's good. It's always good if it doesn't crash. I mean, yep. And that's going to about do it for this project. I may add more details, and knowing myself, I probably will. I've got the trains running reliably. I've got the details to the good point down. At least I got a little town here. Again, made up of those tree ornaments I bought, which really do a good job of being convincing houses. They're about right for end scale. It's kind of hard to tell, but they work well enough for what I have. The only thing is, well, the more detail-oriented of you will note that my Amtrak set is now 3 cars instead of 2. The reason being is I had a bit of a casualty. The truck fell apart on this one and broke off, and I'm missing a wheel now for it. So I'm going to have to get a truck for this at one point. Meantime, I'm going to run 3 cars here. Maybe I can find another one I have hanging around that I can throw at this set. But I think 3 will actually do just fine. As it wasn't the cafe car that broke, which is always the critical one. And as you see, that cafe car is on the rear and it's fine. So that's going to do it for this little video on my Christmas display. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And as always, keep the metal side down.